It's just scripted. Like what she's saying is, it's the same. I'm going to do this and I'm going to be this and I'm going to toughen crimes. And it's like, mate, that's all scripted. You're not going to do any of that. You're going to do like the rest of them, and you're going to do exactly what you or your overlords want you to do. So unfortunately, I have zero trust for you. You can say you're going to do stuff, but you're literally not.
Hello.
Good morning.
How are you doing, my friend?
Well, thanks. I have started my day with a bit of fun, being very annoyed with humans, but I want to, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and make a controversial statement in this one. The movie's Avengers, where Thanos flicks his finger and there were only half of humanity that remained. When I watched it originally, I thought, oh, how dare he? That's like everybody else, right? Not good, not good. But I'm beginning to understand why he did it. I think, like, to be honest with you, I'll be happy to be either the one that remains or the one that goes.
Yeah. There is that sometimes. I was saying before, the humanity is on a bell curve. There's very, very good people, very, very intelligent people. Then there's very, very bad people and very, very unintelligent people on the other side. And I do wonder, if you get rid of all of the people who are on the other side of the bell curve, do you end up better, or does everyone else just fill in the gaps of bad?
Yeah, I mean, it's back to the whole conversation of like, are humans inherently bad or inherently good?
Yes.
And I think
that's a big religious topic, actually. Very big.
Well,
if you want to get into that,
I think we have both. I think we have the ability, the proponent, to be either or. It comes down to what we decide to do with the breath and life that we have, the souls that we have. Every person has the ability to be either or. I mean, if you even look at the Bible, right? So you have King David, who's a well-known character of the Bible. When he was younger, right, he killed I think it was a lion who attacked his flock. He was a shepherd. And you wouldn't have thought at that point, yet as a boy, you wouldn't have thought, okay, he has the ability in him to kill a human. But he killed Goliath, and you're like, okay, well, Goliath was bad, and he was no good for society, and he needed to go. But then you wouldn't have thought, surely he doesn't have the ability to kill an innocent human.
Just because he wants his wife.
Yeah, right. Yeah. After he has had his wife.
Exactly right.
But he did. He then staged a whole scenario to end another person's life after he had committed atrocities against that person.
Yep.
So
there's good and bad in everything.
Exactly right. So he's a great human being. He's a great archetype for humanity, but he is also a very good character to show that both good and bad can exist in a person. And when it comes down to it, it's a matter of choice. It's what you do next that counts.
And that, I think, leads us very nicely into our actual topic for today, which is right.
Yes.
All right,
All right, you take
Jess
it away.
Wilson, my friend. Jess Wilson has gained the vote of the Victorian Liberals after Brad Battin was shockingly ousted as the leader after 11 months.
That's crazy.
Only 11 months.
Crazy talk. Crazy
and
times.
So, Jess Wilson, who is she? If I was to give you a very, very quick summary on where I think she sits politically.
Yeah, left, right, centre.
Fiscally conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Legally, so crime, a little bit more moderate than Brad Battin, which is not what Victoria needs right now.
No.
Socially, she's a little bit more moderate as well, but she's hardline on the Liberal policy, and we'll go through that a little bit later.
To be honest with you, sorry, just stepping like two back, she just pointed out that on 2WB, I think it was, she makes a really grand statement about being, she will be hard on crime. Because Victorians are sick of it.
Yep.
So, I don't know, it sounded in that conversation like she's probably going away from being a moderate to maybe a little bit more right wing.
I think she sees the way, I think she sees the way the wind's blowing and she needs to be tough on crime. I mean, Jacinta Allen, you can't say is tough on crime, but she's said that she's going to be tough on crime.
Jacinta's not tough on anything, let's be fair. She's a twig.
I don't like bringing up her name, but she comes up too much for my liking.
I mean, I thought, as long as she remains the premier of an entire state of Australia that is quickly being flushed down the political sewage.
And it's these leaders.
Okay, continue with your list. Continue.
It's these leaders, right? Yep. I think that all in all, she's only focused on the economy. That's where she comes from. That's what she wants to focus on. One of the first statements that she made straight up was that the budget they're currently making, adding $2 million an hour to the debt of Victoria.
Yeah.
$2 million an hour, right? And so she's very, very hardline on the economy. And I think that's a good thing. And I think that she will make leaps and bounds just based on that.
Can we point out something real quick? If I was the Prime Minister of Australia and I know that one of my states, like I'm the leader of the country, right? And I know that one of my states is making such bad decisions that they are accumulating debt at a rate so rapid, China is excited, right? Because they're the ones largely funding it. Them and all the big wigs are funding it. Surely, I will go, I'm going to step in, ma'am and sirs, you're doing the wrong thing. And I think it's time that we bring it back and you all start listening to me, because I'm not going to let you take Australia down as a whole. But I suppose, I mean, when you really think about it, that's not possible for those leaders to do anyway, because they are just as weak and spineless and know nothing about the economy that they serve.
Yeah, I think that there's an element as well of Victoria being the gateway drug for all of Australia's bad policies from the federal level. So I often see that whatever happens federally, especially from a social perspective, whatever happens at a federal level has happened in Victoria approximately 2 to 3 years before. Right. So, I mean, if you look at the rise of the LGBTQ, exactly. It's like they use that as the funding hub to ensure that the rest of the country goes, oh, at least we're not as bad as Victoria. At least we're not as bad as Victoria. Yeah, but then slowly, it starts becoming just as bad as Victoria. But Victoria just keeps getting progressively worse. But we're not as bad as Victoria.
It's a great point. That is a great point, actually, because that's exactly what has been happening. I remember when they were introducing things like the transgenders being able to go into a female toilet, because apparently that's the only way it seems to go. You don't find any transgender females trying to go into the boys' toilet. They're not that stupid. Or maybe they are. And then we all looked at Victoria and all the crazy things that he implemented there. And slowly but surely, New South Wales will follow. And then South Australia will follow. And then I think, thankfully, Brisbane has kind of stepped a little bit out of the line and go, we're not next.
Yeah, Chris Afuli's doing a good job over there.
Yeah, he's just like, not sure that we're going to be next for this one.
Yeah, no, he's got a backbone.
He must be a Christian. He must have a religious belief that is founded on the faith that the country once used to be founded on,
which
I think actually has a moral code, that column of strength that it has to predicate its entire living and existence on.
Yeah, I think he might be Catholic, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm
not 100% sure, but I think he is. I mean, his heritage would indicate that he would be.
Yeah.
Let's watch a video of Jess Wilson in her own words, and we'll see what we have to say after that. And then I reckon we might show what Sam, our good friend Sam Bamford, had to say about that. More your good friend than mine right now, but Sam Bamford had to say about
Brisbane. Like, we're not. I don't really. I mean, and we did the military together, so not together. He did it at a different time, but we were once both in.
Yeah, I reckon you guys will be Prime Minister and Deputy in 10 to 15 years, mate. Mark my words. All right, let's take a listen.
I will point out something after we listen, actually, which I think will be funny.
Awesome. All right, let's do this.
Jess Wilson in Victoria. She is the new Liberal leader.
The day where I'll take questions. This morning, the Liberal Party room elected me as parliamentary leader unopposed. And I congratulate the team behind me, Sam Groth, Bev MacArthur and Evan Mulholland, people who represent all parts of Victoria. From the outset, can I thank Brad Battin. Brad is a tireless supporter and worker for the Liberal Party, and we thank him for his work as leader over the past 11 months, and I know he will have a key role to play in the team going forward. At the next election, 12 months from now, Victorians have a clear choice. A choice between a tired, out of touch Labor government or a new generation Liberal team. And as leader, I have a clear focus. I have clear priorities. 1, to get the budget back into control so we can invest in things that matter. 2, to end the crime crisis. 3, to make sure that Victorians can get access to the healthcare that they need and deserve. And 4, to give every Victorian the best opportunity to own their own home in this state. They are my priorities, they are my team's clear priorities, and I will work every day for Victorians to make sure at the next election they have a clear alternative, a clear or credible alternative to vote for that gives them hope for the future of Victoria. Thank you.
Okay, I mean, first of all, 2 things. Why the smirk? She has a smirk on. Not sure why she has that on. Seems, I mean, I suppose you'll have a
She
smirk.
must be happy. She's like 34 years old and she's the head of a political party. I'd be smirking too.
How old is she? How old
Like
is she?
34, something like that.
I mean, fair enough. Good for her.
Pretty young.
And okay, so I suppose you'd be that happy if you had just voted unopposed. I have a significant kind of question around that for a second, but let's put that aside. And then obviously that's very, very transcripted because it seems like she's reading.
She knew she was coming out to speak, I'll tell you that much. That was a perfect speech. She had that pre-prepared.
Very well delivered. Very heartfelt if you felt it. Yep. I mean, sounds more like it was paper felt, but or type felt.
Yeah.
But okay, so can we address the unopposed thing for a second before we move to Sam
Let's go.
Bradford? It's very, very rare that you have a person being voted in completely unanimously and nobody opposes it when the person who was leaving or who was previously in the position hasn't really done anything wrong that we know of.
Agreed.
There's a sudden call for a vote. He's ousted. And by the way, if you look at the polls, and I think Sam mentioned this, he was very much ahead of Jacinta, who's currently sitting. And he hasn't done anything wrong. And suddenly the whole party is voting for a new person unopposed. That ought to ring some bells. I just want to throw that out there.
I'll say 2 things on that. So the first one is that the way that the party room voting works on the unopposed level doesn't mean that everyone voted for her. It just means that no one else wanted to step up for leadership. So it effectively means that she was the only one that put her name forward to say, I'll step up as the new shadow premier or the head of the Liberals. So that's what that means necessarily. And then the second one is Brad Battin was removed with a vote of 19, I believe, to 11, which means that there were 11 people there who backed him to stay on. So in my mind, I agree with you on that aspect that there is definitely a divide in the backbench, but I'm not sure if there's a divide so much on Jess Wilson. I think that when we listen to what Sam Bamford put forward, right, I think that he might have gone in a little bit quick because of her stances that she's had in the past in relation to The Voice. She's also simultaneously come out and very, very hardly said, Victorians said no. I voted for The Voice because it's my personal policy. I wanted The Voice because it's my personal policy, but Victorians very clearly actually said no. They do not want a voice. I oppose the treaty. We will repeal the treaty. And if you go to her website, she actually has a whole page just listing out, and let's see if I can pop this up. Just listing out what her plan is for First Nations in Victoria. So it's First Nations Victoria, which is her own plan. It's not a treaty plan. Mm-hmm. It's effectively saying there is one minister, not this large spread of intermediaries where money always seems to get lost. And if you go to her website, you can actually find that as well. It's all in there. And it's actually a pretty good strategy. It's basically try and hit on the things that are in the Close the Gap document, which are actually really, most of them are actually pretty good. They're basically policies that are going to try and reduce crime, reduce alcoholism, reduce suicide rates, improve living conditions, etc. Mm-hmm. So she has actually come out against The Voice pretty harshly, or the treaty, since Victoria voted against it, which is what representation is meant to be, right? You say, hey, this is the policy I want to push, but the majority of people don't want this, and so gone, ousted.
So the assumption is that she's obviously still a member serving a specific electorate of Victoria, but now we are hearing that Jacinta's plan, or rather the sitting party's plan, is to reintroduce that anyway. and put some level of the voice in the parliament, which you're right, this plays right back to like they do it in Victoria first and then they do it in Australia. I think maybe the reason it didn't work when they tried to do it as a whole Australia thing is because they'd never tried it in Victoria first.
Well, they actually had. They've got 2 already. That's the crazy thing.
Well, they do it now. But
they've already. They'd already had 2. No, even before. So we had in 2018, there was Advancing the Treaty Process, which was passed through Parliament. There was a Treaty Authority and Other Elements Act, which was introduced in 2022. And now in 2025, we've got the statewide treaty. So Victoria has already had the treaty. They've just now solidified it into one big document, which is like the whole state has to deal with this. And there's going to be all these branches of Indigenous councils that are all going to basically say you can't build a building there because, you know, that thing happened 10,000 years ago. So if you want to build there, you have to pay taxes to us so that we still control part of the land. If people want to walk through this area, it can only be maintained by Indigenous people, which I actually agree with that portion of it. I think that there are Indigenous communities that have a far greater respect for the public land, and they should be introduced in those areas to maintain those areas.
Right. So, okay, that makes sense. Globally speaking, though, we have a situation where Victoria largely voted that they don't want
Which I agree.
And then the state goes ahead and implements it anyway because, well,
that's tyranny. That's tyranny. That is tyranny. Yeah, that is the entire population said no. And that's that. I mean, that part of it, I completely agree with Sam Wilson. I don't think it should be legislated.
Yeah.
Why do we have a treaty? Treaty implies that there are 2 nations living on the same land. Yeah. That is not possible.
Yeah.
Okay. That is not possible. That is one set of rules for one set of people and another set of rules for another set of people.
And all it does is it creates division. It's extremely divisive. And if they're trying to create unity while actually legislating division, how does that work?
It's not right. It's not right. You're creating animus.
Well, and it's going to be evident over time, as long as it remains, it's going to become more and more and more and more evident until it's out of control. And if that doesn't bring about the first civil war, then the bad leadership of the nation will probably bring about the first civil war. But anyway, but it seems like Australia is due because I don't think Australia's actually had one before. But if these leaders stop bowing to their overlords and start actually looking at the reality of life and getting in touch with actual reality, they'll quickly realize that every country that has had a civil war has absolutely had to do with the fact that the leaders will not listen to the people.
Exactly right.
So they're creating that for themselves. Okay, so Sam Bamford.
Let's listen to Sam.
He had a take on this.
He had a big take. And a lot of it I agree with. But there are certain parts of it that I'm like, maybe we need to dig a bit deeper and try not to. And I said this on my show on Monday nights. It came out on Tuesday. I'm sick of leadership spills. I'm tired of constantly changing who the face of the party is. Started with Tony from the Liberals side, went to ScoMo or Turnbull, then ScoMo, right? Yeah. And now we're stuck with Susan Ley. That was after, what's his name? Dutton was in there.
There's no stability.
You need a face. And there are redemption arcs. You can have the worst polling. Look at what happened to Donald Trump. He had the worst polling in human history when he first started running for this last campaign. And now he's president again. So you can do it if you stick together and you build a base. But you can't build a base by constantly changing the face.
Well, can I just point out one possible solution to that, which I think you and I discussed a little bit not too long ago, was that maybe Australia needs to become a federation.
Agreed.
Just putting that there, because then we can have a system that is actually a proper structured governance where one person can have the ability, and I'm sure somebody's going to say authoritarian. Can I just tell you something? Some of the countries that are thriving as far as the economy is concerned, and you wouldn't know that because you don't look at them closely enough, like China, they are borrowing to most of the world and nobody is borrowing them. It's lending money to them. Nobody. They don't do that. They're thriving. Agreed. Do you know how long they've had their leader for?
23, 24 years.
Yeah. Okay. The same leader, because the thing with the leader is that a good leader gets a vision and then they envision that, and they try to communicate that vision across the board to the people that can help them execute that vision, and they get buy-in, and then they start to execute said vision, and all of that takes time. And what it doesn't take is 11 months. What it doesn't take is not even 4 years. It takes far longer than that to actually see anything be properly executed. But we have this revolving door thing, which it's a problem for America as well, even with the presidential system there. But you have this revolving door thing that forever goes in this cycle that leads the country basically to nowhere. But anyway, we get off topic. That's a conversation for another day. Let's go to Sam.
I do agree with you, though. Let's listen to Sam.
Right, so Jess Wilson is now the leader of the Liberals in Victoria. Let that sink in. Only 2 weeks ago, Brad Battin was destroying Jacinta Allen in the polls. His preferred polling premier numbers were through the roof. Labor was scared. Then boom, overnight, Brad Battin out, the moderate Jess Wilson in. Why? Why did that happen? Because Victoria just locked in their statewide treaty, a treaty that explicitly writes the United Nations Declaration onto the rights of Indigenous people into Victorian law, a treaty the UN High Commissioner personally flew in to celebrate, a treaty the UN has been pushing, praising and monitoring for years. And Brad Battin was the one opposition leader that was going to fight it with everything he had. And Jess Wilson, the moderate, who stood in Parliament and clapped for the Aboriginal activists that read off their script while the rest of the party opposed the treaty process. Connect the dots here, everyone. It's not hard. The UN wanted its flagship treaty process protected. Someone from the deep, dirty, dark UN made the phone calls. The switch then got flipped. Jess in, Brad out. That's how it works. That's how fast these things happen when the strings get pulled. And you think this is safe for me to talk about this? You think it's safe for me to give you this type of information? Labor wanted the UN treaty. The new Liberal Party leader now wants the UN treaty. Same agenda, same masters, just with a different coloured tie on. There's no opposition anymore. There's no choice at the ballot box. Red team, blue team, they both take orders from the same masters. And to every single Liberal MP who raised their hand to stab Brad Battin in the back, you are one of the lowest forms of cowardice this country has ever produced. You saw a leader who was actually winning for the people, and you panicked because it wasn't a part of the script. You just sold off your voters, your state, your country for what? Pre-selection and a pension? You cowards. And if you can, tag these cowards in the comments so they get berated by everyone. You are owned, you are weak, and you are finished. History will spit on your names. And let me tell you something, everyone. Voting inside this rigged circus, it's not going to make a difference. Your preference just legitimized the one bloke who was actually fighting for your state. The two-party system is dead. The funeral of Victoria was 2 weeks ago, and the UN just made the call to the moderates who just intimidated the Liberal Conservatives, who just bent over and took it up where the sun don't shine, because they are pathetic cowards who only care about their pre-selection and their pensions. So to the system controlling this, and to everyone listen, walk away from it. Stop feeding it. Because one day, and maybe it's coming a lot quicker than everyone thinks, the whole rotten puppet show is going to come crashing the fuck down. And when it does, we'll remember exactly who pulled the strings and exactly who obeyed like a good little servant. What's your thoughts? All right,
So good. I mean, he's very articulate, and I love how angry he gets.
Man, I love it.
He's a character.
The way that he speaks is so engaging. It's like, it's next level engagement.
Yeah, it's very good. So, okay, so a couple of things that he said that I kind of wanted your take on it, right? So, I have a question in terms of that. Why does the United Nations, who is a body that is supposed to kind of hang out in a position where they ensure that all nations at a global level are united? That's literally, it's in their name. Why does that body have, it's worth asking, have an interest in one small state in Australia and their ability to sign off a treaty and create something that most of the people that live in there say no to? Why do they have an interest in that? Worth asking, right?
So the reasoning behind why the UN has an influence is because they pushed forward something which is part of the NDRIP. So it's basically the UN's version of treatment of Indigenous peoples across the world. And so if you're a part of the UN, then you have to recognition of Indigenous peoples across the world. So they basically set up a framework of how all countries, in the same way that they set up the rubbish on how the climate has to, be
and
all
then
that sort of stuff. It's just,
the overlord said it and everybody bowed to it.
yeah, and here's the crazy thing about it, right, which I very much dislike it. That's one of the biggest takes that I really liked about from Sam Bamford's clips here, right, is he really introduced how the UN has influenced this, celebrated it, etc. The one portion of it that bugs me so much, again, is what we just spoke about. We are in the UN majorly, and we are pushed in the UN majorly by the influence of Britain. Whatever Britain does, we have to do. Whatever Britain get involved in, we have to do.
Yeah. So that's right back to the topic of should Australia become a federation and get the hell out of that whole problem, right? Because, well, here's one of the cases for it. We are being influenced by a governing body that do not have our best interests at heart. Because if they do, an entire group of people don't say no to something, and then they go, well, we know better, so we're going to make it happen anyway.
100% agreed. And what my biggest problem is as well with the UN influence is that how can you, as we already have enough problems just in Australia discussing these issues, because we have 200 or 600 odd different Indigenous bodies across Australia, because they're all separate nations that speak approximately or spoke approximately 260 different languages. We have enough trouble trying to create Indigenous legislation or legislation just for us. How can the UN create a framework for the whole world and think that it's going to be good for everyone? It's moronic.
It's the globalists. They believe they can do it, and so they're influencing. And one of the ways they're actually doing that, by the way, and I think it's worth pointing out, because we are not daft people, and we exist in the system, but we kind of sit outside of it because we can see what's going on. One of the ways they really want to be able to achieve that is to really create a subgroup of people that will permeate the culture and effectively reduce the intellectual ability of all humanities. That's why you have people that are strongly and will almost die for it. They go insane about it, where they defend everything that was wrong is now right. Right?
Agreed.
You have people going, a man who looks like a degenerate psychopathic pedophile goes into the bathroom at a library where largely children will be, and when he's asked to leave by the police officer female, he makes a complaint to the police. This is in America, and he gets praised, given the media attention, given everything to say, how dare that police officer do that? You're right. You and I and many other folks look at that and we go, that is dumb. What are you talking about?
Crazy.
Who shouldn't be there?
Yeah.
We have the label pedophiles for a reason, because it's not an acceptable thing, right? Yet these global elites have permeated our culture with all of these nonsensical ideologies that has no logic behind it. But maybe if they can dumb down society to a point where they can just comply at a mass, and then what they will do is, for the few that remain, that, well, perhaps like you and I, that just refuse to comply because we like, it's dumb and we're not going to follow that crap, then maybe those guys can force us into complying. They can yell loud enough, burn our houses down, push us out of society.
And what the scariest
that's the whole
part,
plan, right?
And what the scariest part about it is as well, is it's that quote, right, from the head of the World Economic Forum, where the end goal is simply that we will own nothing and that we ought to be happy about it.
Yeah.
That is the end goal. That is the end goal. So I reckon we'll do I might give you 30 seconds, a quick statement, and then I'll go first so I can give you the last word just on what we think about Jess Wilson as a finality point, what our opinion is, and then we'll let the viewers have a decision on where they sit with it. So I think we're mildly opposed on this, but I'll give my statement. So I think Jess Wilson being the leader, she's there now. Let's back her. She's the horse we've got to back in the state of Victoria. Her policies don't seem quite as radical as what we might say. If she really does focus in on an economic boom in Victoria, everyone knows economic instability creates people who are unhappy. Unhappy people create crime. Crime creates instability, and instability is going to create really difficult times for everybody around.
Yeah.
So if she can focus in on the economy building, remove the voice or the treaty as she said that she will on her platform, then I think that she'll be a great leader. I think we back her as the horse to run.
Well, my position, I think Sam did mention something there that I think is the thing I kind of sit on, which is that there is no two sides anymore. There's actually just one side now. It looks like it's two sides because they have to give us that two sides, because if they don't, then we will question it. But in actuality, there is no two sides. And if that is true, then, well, you don't have a choice. You have to back her anyway, right? And unfortunately, what we don't realize, Sam talked about pre-selection. You know, these guys have done what they've done, even if they disagree, so that they can get pre-selection. Pre-selection, by the way, happens at a party level, and the people that influence pre-selection are the members of that party. And I think I talked about this last week when I said, if people don't participate in democracy, then it doesn't work. If you turn up in bulk to your whatever party, let's say the Liberal, right? And in that pre-selection, you choose people that are none of these people, none of them, to actually be pre-selected, to go up and be voted for, then we wouldn't have this problem, largely speaking. While I think that, okay, she's already there, she makes this statement in 2WB yesterday where she was saying that, okay, if I don't remember the exact line, but effectively, as I listened to it, I thought, it's just scripted. Like what she's saying is, it's the same, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be this, and I'm going to toughen crimes. And it's like, mate, that's all scripted. You're not going to do any of that. You're going to do like the rest of them, and you're going to do exactly what you or your overlords want you to do. So unfortunately, I have zero trust for you. You can say you're going to do stuff, but you're literally not. Well, I guess we'll see. We'll see, wouldn't we?
We will see. We will see. I love the little doomsday ending, the nihilist ending. It's like, we'll see. Hopefully it goes okay. Hopefully it goes okay.
But the reality is, if we don't do something, nothing will change, because he is right. There are no two parties anymore. There is just one, and they're all answering to the same people.
Yeah.
And
you know what that one party is? From now on, One Nation. Let's go.
One day Pauline Hanson will hear us and she will be like, let's talk.
Oh, yeah. I hope so. Oh, man. Imagine we do I'm calling it M&M from now on. It's EM and M. It's my favorite. I love it. It'll be M&M and Pauline. M&M chats with Pauline. That'll be the best.
Can't wait. All right. Let's get this thing out. Thank you.
Leave it to you. Let us know your thoughts. Thanks, Emeka.
And subscribe.
Subscribe.